Hello everyone, we are already on our fourth week, so let's begin. First of all, the English teachers have had a meeting and we have decided how are we going to assess you, how are we going to calculate your final marks. So, this is going to be the result of the average of the first and the second term, and then we will add up to 2 points. So, how is this going to work? Imagine that you had an 8 on the first term and a 7, for example, on the second term. The average would be 7.5, right? So, if you hand in everything, if you do all the tasks, we will add up 2 points, which would result in 9.5. What happens if you don't hand in everything, if you have something wrong? Well, imagine that the result of your work during this term is 7. In order to calculate the result, in order to calculate how much of these 2 points are you going to get, we will multiply it by 0.2, which would be 1.4. So instead of 2, we would add up this 1.4 and you would have 8.9. I know that this is a bit confusing, so if you have doubts, you can always ask me, okay? You can send me an email or leave me a comment on Google Classroom or on Instagram. So your first task, I don't have much to explain about this because it's just a reading. You'll have to read a text about newspapers in the UK and answer some questions. When do you have to hand this in? You will hand this in by the 13th of May. Second task, you'll have to record a story, please minimum 2 stories because if not it will be too short, and you'll act out as a reporter. You will choose a piece of news that you like, and what you have to do is telling it to us in your own words. You'll have to pretend that you're a reporter from a TV channel, for example, and you'll have to tell us the news as if you were there, as if you were the reporter in charge of telling us what is happening in the world or what is happening in the place where your piece of news takes place. What I wanted to do here is to practice the future tense, okay? So please use it at least twice. If the story you're telling us has already happened in the past, what you can do is just telling us 2 things that will happen in the future. For example, if you're telling us that a shop closed yesterday, you can tell us that it will open in 2 weeks' time, for example. So you will have to do this by the 16th of May. Finally, you'll have a grammar review from units 6 and 7. You'll have a worksheet. It will be very easy, I promise. And you'll have to hand this in by the 17th of May. So, these are all the tasks that we have for this week. If you have any doubt, please send me an email, leave me a comment, whatever suits you best. And now I'm going to explain the grammar for those of you who need it. So if you don't need an extra explanation of units 6 and 7, you can stop the video now because the presentations, the PowerPoints will be uploaded on Google Classroom. If you need this brief explanation, please carry on with the video. So units 6 and 7. Here we had quantity and future. If you remember, we had the future divided between the unit 6 and the unit 7. Here we're going to explain everything together. We're going to start by the expression of quantity because it's the shortest one. Here you have a chart summing up the contents of the expression of quantity. If you remember, you had to distinguish between countable and uncountable nouns. And also you had two terms which were used either with countable or uncountable nouns. These were a lot of or lots of, and enough or not enough. We're going to start with these ones. First of all, a few and a little. We will use this to express small quantities, un poco. So here we have a few for countable nouns. There are a few cats over there. And a little for uncountable nouns. I've got a little water left. Do you want some? How much and how many to ask about quantity. Cuánto o cuántas, cuántos. So we have how much for uncountable nouns. How much time do we have to finish this? We have used water before, so here we could say how much water is there in the fridge, for example. And then we have how many for countable nouns. How many chairs do we need for this classroom? We said cats before, so here we could ask how many cats did you see? Too much and too many to say that something is excessive, demasiado. I've eaten too much food today, so as you can see, much will be used for uncountable nouns. He comido demasiada comida hoy. And too many for countable nouns. She has got too many books at her house. We start now with the ones that may be used with countable and uncountable nouns. The first one would be a lot of or lots of, to talk about large amounts, to say mucho. Remember that you can use either one, okay? The only rule is that if you write a, you can't add the s, and if you have the s, you can't add the a. For example, here we have an example with countable noun. There were a lot of sweets at his birthday party, or there were lots of sweets at his birthday party. The meaning is the same, nothing changed. Now with an uncountable noun, he drinks a lot of tea every day. He drinks lots of tea every day. Again, it doesn't change. The meaning is the same. And the last one, enough or not enough, to say that something is sufficient or insufficient. Suficiente o insuficiente. We've got enough people to organize the meeting. Tenemos suficiente gente para organizar la reunión. We haven't got enough people to organize the meeting. No tenemos suficiente gente para organizar la reunión. So now, with an uncountable noun, you've got enough time to finish your exam. You haven't got enough time to finish your exam. Now, let's begin with the future. Remember that one of the tenses that we used was the present simple, but we only used this for schedules or schedules. Remember that we were discussing the pronunciation of this word. If we have a timetable, we will always use this tense. For example, the train leaves at 10 p.m. tomorrow. It always leaves at that time. So it's something that happens every day or every Saturday, every week, it doesn't matter. I open my shop from Monday to Friday, another present simple. And our tennis class starts at 12 p.m. on Saturday. So it starts next Saturday, but as we have here the time and date, we used present simple because it's something that happens every Saturday. We will have our tennis class every Saturday at 12 p.m. It doesn't change. Now the present continuous for future plans, but when you already have a fixed plan, when you have a time, you have a date, you have an appointment, and you're going to do it 100% sure. So, for example, we are visiting my cousins next month. If I say this, I am saying that I have already talked to my cousins. We have already said that I'm going to go next month at a certain hour on a certain day. I am going to the dentist tomorrow. If I tell you that I'm going to the dentist tomorrow, it means that I already have the appointment. I've already called the dentist, and the dentist has already told me that I can go there tomorrow at 10 a.m., for example. They are coming home next week. The same situation as before. Be going to, we use it for future plans too, but it won't be as certain as the present continuous. I'm going to go out tonight. Ya he quedado con alguien o ya he hecho planes. This means I may not have the exact hour or the exact day, but I know for sure that I'm going to do it, or at least that is my intention. They're going to move to another house next year. They have already bought the house, but maybe they don't have the date to move. We also use it to make predictions when we have evidence in the present. What's the meaning of this? I have seen the weather forecast today, and the man or the woman in the weather forecast said that tomorrow it will rain in Murcia. So I can say that according to the weather forecast, it is going to rain tomorrow. It is not a plan, it is not an intention, but I have something in the present that tells me that this future is possible. Another one. We have to leave now, we're going to miss the bus. So imagine that you're in a hurry, the bus leaves in 5 minutes. You know that you're going to miss it if you don't go out right now. You have the evidence in the present to say that you're going to miss it if you don't go out right now. Will. Here we're sure about something, but we don't have the evidence. He will study the night before, he always does that. So if you know a friend that always study the night before, you may say this sentence, but you don't have an evidence. You haven't called him and he has told you that he's studying the night before, and you don't have a camera in his room. So, we won't win the race, we haven't trained enough. This is a prediction. I think that we won't win the race because we haven't trained enough, but I have nothing in the present to say that this will happen for sure. For example, if I said that I am not going to win the race because the other team has cheated, porque han hecho trampas, I could say I am not going to win the race because the other team has cheated. I have an evidence. If the other team has cheated, it is highly possible that I don't win the race. But here, the only evidence that you have is that you haven't trained enough, so you still have a chance to win. We also use will when we have just decided something. It will happen for sure, but you have just decided it. For example, I will make a sandwich, I'm hungry. You are already going to the kitchen to make that sandwich, but you have just decided it. It was not a plan. You haven't watched that film, we will watch it tonight. We are going to watch it tonight because I want to watch it with you, but I have just decided it, so I use will. May and might, when we feel less sure. We don't know it for sure if something is going to happen. For example, it hasn't rained this week, but it might rain tomorrow. She may adopt a dog. She loves dogs. So here I know that my friend loves dogs, and I say that she may adopt a dog, but I don't know it for sure. She hasn't told me that she is going to adopt a dog. I'm just saying that it is a possibility. My brother may come today, he might come with his girlfriend. So, what is the difference between may and might? When you use might, you are less sure than when you use may. So, in this sentence, for example, my brother told me that he wanted to visit me, so he may come today. I know that my brother has a girlfriend, so he may come today and he might come with his girlfriend, but it's not sure. I don't know it. Here you have this slide just to clarify things a bit more. Here you have what I have been telling you about being more or less sure about the future plans. Here with present continuous, remember that it works when you have a date, you have an appointment, you have a time, and you're going to do it, and you're 100% sure that this plan is going to happen. And then we descend until may and might, which is a future about which you are not sure. You don't know if it's going to happen, it's just a possibility. The last one is the future continuous for something that is going to happen, to be happening at this time in the future. For example, I can say that now I'm studying, but I know that in 2 weeks from now I will be at the beach, for example. So I can say in 2 weeks from now I will be swimming in the beach. So here you have more examples. In 2 years I will be living in the US. So I know that I'm going to the US to study or to work or whatever reason I have, and in 2 years from now I will be living there. So if we are now in 2020, in 2022 I'm going to be living there. Tomorrow at 9 a.m. they will be running. I know that they run every day, so tomorrow at 9 a.m. they will not be at home, they will be running. Instead of will, we sometimes use may and might when we feel less sure about this possible future. Don't call him now, he may be studying. Next month we might be going to London. So this is all for now. Remember that if you have any doubt, if you need something, you can leave me a comment on Google Classroom and you can send me an email. So I hope that everything is all right at home. I hope that your families are okay, and see you next week.